Inspire, motivate, challenge.
So, Mr. Victor, in your career, especially in the part where you led, the vaccines department for GSK, you were instrumental in providing access to hundreds of thousands and potentially millions of Nigerian children over the past, over a decade. Can you talk about some of your key achievements?
Thanks a lot. Ideally, the achievements should be spoken by others, but I mean, for the purpose of educating the world, I would like to speak on some. And I will zero in on things that, the achievements that actually bring a sense of euphoria. My journey in vaccines actually started in early 2000, but the major one was when I took over the leadership of the vaccines team in West Africa. One memorable one was, first of all, looking at the private segment, because if you look at vaccines, you split it into the public market vaccines and the private market vaccines. In the private market vaccines, you have the self-pay, where the populace actually have to pay out of pocket. And we found that that the penetration of vaccines in the private market was very, very low as probably less than 0.5%. And so we thought, what were the rate limiting factors? What were the challenges involved in actually getting the vaccines from a cold storage system to the last mile, to the last patient that needs it? And we found that there were basically three. Number one is the level of awareness of vaccines was basically low. So awareness was one. The second one was the problem of access. Now, if you look at access compared to pharmaceutical products, you could always just store the pharmaceutical products on the shelf, but with vaccines, you require specialized storage facilities that will keep the vaccines at the temperature of 2 to 8 degrees. And I mean, you don't have that kind of facility scattered everywhere. So that's the second one. And the third one was the issue of pricing. If you look at the price of every vaccine compared to a pharmaceutical product, they are probably sometimes twice or 3 times more expensive. So these are the three things that actually limited the vaccines from being delivered from our vaccines cold room to the last mile. And so what did we do? We set up what you call the Neighborhood Vaccines Access Initiative. Why do we call it so? We realized that the pharmacies were actually closest to our customers, closer than even the medical facilities. So what we did was to partner with an association called the Association of Community Pharmacists of Nigeria, ACPN. And in doing that, we set up 88 vaccines outlets with donating specialized storage facilities that can withstand power outage for about 72 hours and still keep those vaccines potent. So we said that we kept that facility there. So GSK's responsibility was to donate those facilities and also to create awareness of those centers, while the centers were to make their outlets available and also to help us liaise with their patients and raise awareness around vaccination. And we saw numbers shooting. As at the last count, we're doing about, we're reaching to about 20,000 patients that were not in the core of the vaccines business. So the Neighborhood Vaccine Access Initiative was very important. And why I really remember that was because to pull that kind of project through in a company like GSK was quite very rewarding and fulfilling. So that was one. The second thing I always also am happy to talk about is the celebrity vaccine called Cervarix, which was a cervical cancer vaccine. It was first of its kind, and it was a very difficult project. We were able to introduce Cervarix into the cervical cancer vaccine into Nigeria in 2008, and other West African countries. Today everybody knows Cervarix, the HPV vaccines, that is very useful in actually preventing death in women. why cervix is so important is because of the importance of cervical cancer. Cervical cancer not only kills, but the kind of death that the women go through is very dignifying. I don't think even the worst of criminals deserve that kind of death. So to have a vaccine like Cervarix that can deal with the malaise, the debilitating conditions and outcome of cervical cancer is something of great news. So that's three. Second one. The third and most important one, I think, is the big one before leaving, was in 2014 to get the pneumococcal conjugate vaccine launched into the National Primary Program of Immunization, National Program of Immunization. With that, we had about 8,000 doses, about 20,000 doses, 20 million doses of vaccine supplied into Nigeria to protect every baby, every infant born in Nigeria from pneumococcal pneumonia. Pneumonia as a result of pneumococcal disease. Now, remember I said that 50% of the deaths in the under 5 are caused by pneumonia, the pneumonia that is caused by the Haemophilus influenza type B vaccine that's already launched into the National Primary Program on Immunization. Yeah. Now, but the other disease that is responsible to make it 50% was the pneumococcal disease. So to have this vaccine launched into the EPI was a big news, because what it means is that 50% of the deaths in the under 5s potentially will be averted, which is big. You know, and what is exciting about that project was that it required it requires leadership cross profession, cross barriers. Leadership from the above country team in GSK, and a name that readily comes to mind is Professor Richard Adegbola, who was the Director of Global Scientific Affairs in Belgium. The support there, working with the President of the Pediatric Association of Nigeria, the name escapes me now, then the President of the International Pediatric Association of Nigeria, Dr. Dorothy Esangbedo, and the Director of Immunization, National Primary Care Development Agency, the very, very indefatigable Dr. Abanida, you know, leaders in WHO, UNICEF, and all other NGOs, and even Gavi, you know, to really put this through. So it requires cross-functional leadership to drive this. And so I can't really forget this one. And having done this, I thought it was this project that actually gave me that sense of achievement and gave me the courage to really leave GSK and now start my own business. So these are things that really gives me a sense of excitement and euphoria. And I'm happy. I thank you for bringing this question on to really unearth this.